Now to be modest, madam, when you are a suitor for your father, 'twould appear coarser than boldness. You a while must part with soft silence and the blushings of a virgin. Though I must grant, did not this cause command it, they are rich jewels you have ever worn to all men's admiration in this age. If by our own forced importunity, or other purchased intercession, or corrupting bribes, we can make our approaches to justice, guarded from us by stern power, we bless the means and the industry.
Here's music in this bag shall wake her, though she had drunk opium or eaten mandrakes. Let commanders talk of cannons to make breaches. Give but fire to this petard. It shall blow open, madam, the iron doors of a judge, and make you entrance. When they, let them do what they can, with all their mines, their culverins, their basiliscos, shall cool their feet without. This being the picklock that never fails.
'Tis true, gold can do much, but beauty more. Were I the governor, though the admiral your father stood convicted of what he's only doubted, half a dozen of sweet, close kisses from these cherry lips, with some short, active conference in private, should sign his general pardon.
These light words, sir, do ill become the weight of my sad fortune, and I much wonder that you do profess yourself to be my father's bosom friend, can raise mirth from his misery.
You mistake me. I share in his calamity, and only deliver my thoughts freely, what I should do for such a rare petitioner. And if you'll follow the directions I prescribe, with my best judgment, I'll mark out the way for his enlargement.
With all real joy, I shall put into counsel what you act, provided it be honest.
Honesty, in a fair she-client, trust to my experience, seldom or never prospers. The world's wicked. We are men, not saints, sweet lady. You must practice the manners of the time if you intend to have favor from it. Do not deceive yourself by building too much on the false foundations of chastity and virtue. Bid your waiter stand farther off, and I'll come nearer to you.
Some wicked counsel on my life.
Ne'er doubted it if it proceed from her.
I wonder that my lord so much affects her.
Thou art a child, and dost not understand on what strong basis this friendship's raised between this Montraville and our lord Monsieur Malfort. But I'll teach thee from thy years they have been joint purchasers in furs and waterworks and truck together.
In fire and waterworks.
Commodities, girl, which you may know hereafter.
And deal in them when the trade is given you over, as appears by the increase of your high forehead.
Here's a crack! I think they suck this knowledge in their milk.
I'd had an ignorant nurse else. I've tied Sir my lady's garter and can guess.
Peace, infant! Tales out of school, take heed, you will be bridged else.
My lady's color changes.
She falls off too.
You are a naughty man. Indeed you are, and I will sooner perish with my father than at this price redeem him.
Take your own way, your modest, legal way. 'Tis not your veil, nor mourning habit, nor these creatures taught to howl and cry when you begin to whimper, nor following my lord's coach in the dirt, nor that which you rely upon. A bribe will do it when there's something he likes better. These courses, in an old crone of threescore, that had 7 years together tired the court with tedious petitions and clamors for the recovery of a strangling husband, to pay, forsooth, the duties of one to her. But for a lady of your tempting beauties, your youth, and ravishing features, to hope only in such a suit as this is, to gain favor without exchange of courtesy. You conceive me? Were madness at the height. Here's brave young Beaufort, the meteor of Marseille, one that holds the governor his father's will and power in more awe than his own. Come, come, advance. Present your bag crammed with crowns of the sun. Do you think he cares for money? He loves pleasure. Burn your petition. Burn it. He dotes on you, upon my knowledge, to his cabinet. Do, and he will point you out a certain course, be the cause right or wrong, to have your father released with much facility.
Do you hear? Take a pander with you.
I tell thee, there is neither employment yet, nor money.
I have commanded and spent my own means in my country's service in hope to raise a fortune.
Many have hoped so, but hopes prove seldom certainties with soldiers.
If no preferment, let me but receive my pay that is behind to set me up a tavern or a vaulting house. While men love or drunkenness or lechery, they'll ne'er fail me. Shall I have that?
As our prizes are brought in. Till then you must be patient.
In the meantime, how shall I do for clothes?
As most captains do. Philosopher-like, carry all you have about you.
But how shall I do to satisfy Calonne, monsieur? There lies the doubt.
That's easily decided. My father's table's free for any man that hath borne arms.
And there's good store of meat.
Never fear that.
I'll seek no other ordinary then, but be his daily guest without invitement. And if my stomach hold, I'll feed so heartily, he shall pay me suddenly to be quit of me.
'Tis she.
And further.
Away, you are troublesome. Designs of more weight.
Oh, fair Theocrin. Nay, if a velvet petticoat move in the front, buff jerkins must to the rear. I know my manners. This is indeed great business. Mine a gewgaw. I may dance attendance. This must be dispatched, and suddenly, or all will go to rack. Charge her home in the flank, my lord. Nay, I am gone, sir.
Nay, pray you, madam, rise, or I'll kneel with you.
I would bring you on your knees were I a woman.
What is it can deserve so poor a name as a suit to me? This more than mortal form was fashioned to command and not entreat. Your will but known is served.
Great sir, my father, my brave, deserving father, but that sorrow forbids the use of speech.
I understand you. Without the aids of those interpreters that fall from your fair eyes, I know your labor. The liberty of your father, at the least an equal hearing to acquit himself, and 'tis not to endear my service to you, though I must add, and pray you with patience hear it, 'tis hard to be affected. In respect, the state's incensed against him, all presuming the world of outrages, his impious son turned worse than pirate, and his cruelties expressed to this poor country could not be with such ease put in execution if your father, of late our great admiral, held not or correspondency or connived at his proceedings.
And must he then suffer his cause unheard?
As yet it is resolved so, in their determination. But suppose, for I would nourish hope, not kill it in you, I should avert the torrent of their purpose and render them that are implacable, impartial judges, and not swayed with spleen. Will you, I dare not say in recompense, for that includes a debt you cannot owe me, but in your liberal bounty, in my suit to you, be gracious.
You entreat of me, sir, what I should offer to you, with confession that you much undervalue your own worth, should you receive me, since there come with you not lustful fires, but fair and lawful flames. But I must be excused. 'Tis now no time for me to think of hymeneal joys. Can he, and pray you, sir, consider it, that gave me life and faculties to love, be, as he is now, ready to be devoured by ravenous wolves, and at that instant I but entertain a thought of those delights in which perhaps my ardor meets with yours? Duty and piety forbid it, sir.
But this affected, and your father free. What is your answer?
Every minute to me will be a tedious age till our embraces are warrantable to the world.
I urge no more. Confirm it with a kiss.
I doubly feel it.
This would do better abed. The business ended. They are the lovingest couple.
Here comes my father with the council of war. Deliver your petition and leave the rest to me.
I am sorry, lady. Your father's guilt compels your innocence to ask what I, in justice, must deny.
For my sake, sir, pray you receive and read it.
How foolish boy. I can deny thee nothing.
Thus far we are happy. Madam, quit the place. You shall hear how we succeed.
Goodness reward you.
It is apparent, and we stay too long to censure Malafort as he deserves.
There is no color of reason that makes for him. Had he discharged the trust committed to him with that experience and fidelity he practiced heretofore, it could not be our navy should be blocked up. And in our sights, our goods made prize, our sailors sold for slaves by his prodigious issue.
I much grieve. After so many brave and high achievements, he should in one ill forfeit all of the good he ever did his country.
Well, 'tis granted.
I humbly thank you, sir.
We shall have hearing. His irons too struck off. Bring him before us, but seek no further favor.
Sir, I dare not.
Monsieur Chamont, Montaigne, Lanour, assistance by a commission from the most Christian king in punishing or freeing Malafort, our late great admiral. Though I know you need not instructions from me how to dispose of yourselves in this man's trial. That exacts your clearest judgments. Give me leave with favor to offer my opinion. We are to hear him, a little looking back on his fair actions, loyal and true demeanor, not as now, by the general voice, already he's condemned. But if we find, as most believe, he hath held intelligence with his accursed son, fallen off from all allegiance, and turned, but for what cause we know not, the most bloody and fatal enemy this country ever repented to have brought forth. All compassion of what he was, or may be, if now pardoned, we sit engaged to censure him with all extremity and vigor.
Your lordship shows us a path which we will tread in.
And he that leaves to follow you as you lead will lose himself.
I'll not be singular.
He comes, but with a strange, distracted look.
Live I once more to see these hands and arms free. These, that often in the most dreadful horror of a fight has been as sea marks to teach such as were seconds in my attempts to steer between the rocks of too much daring and pale fear to reach the port of victory. When my sword advanced thus, to my enemies appeared a hairy comet, threatening death and ruin to such as durst behold it. These, the legs that when our ship were grappled, carried me with such swift motion from deck to deck as they that saw it with amazement cried, he does not run, but flies.
He still retains the greatness of his spirit.
Now, cramped with irons, hunger, and cold, they hardly do support me. But I forget myself. Oh, my good lords, that sit there as my judges to determine the life and death of Malafort, where are now those shouts, those cheerful looks, those loud applauses with which, when I returned, loaden with spoil, you entertained your admiral? All's forgotten. And I stand here to give account for that of which I am as free and innocent as he that never saw the eyes of him for whom I am suspected.
Monsieur Malafort, let not your passion so far transport you as to believe from any private malice or envy to your person you are questioned. Nor do the suppositions want weight that do invite us to a strong assurance. Your son,
my shame,
pray you with patience, ever without assistance or sure aids from you, could, with the pirates of Angiers and Tunis, even those that you had almost twice defeated, acquire such credit as with them to be made absolute commander. Pray you, observe, if there had not been some contract passed between you, that when occasion served you would join with him to the ruin of Marseille?
More, what urged your son to turn apostate?
Had he from the state or governor the least neglect, which envy could interpret for a wrong?
Well, my lords, with as much brevity as I can, I'll answer each particular objection with which you charge me. The main ground on which you raise the building of your accusation hath reference to my son. Should I now curse him, or wish in the agony of my troubled soul lightning had found him in his mother's womb, you'll say is from the purpose, and I therefore betake him to the devil, and so leave him. Did never loyal father but myself beget a treacherous issue? Was it in me with as much ease to fashion up his mind as in his generation to form the organs of his body? Must it follow because that he is impious, I am false? I would not boast my actions, yet 'tis lawful to upbraid my benefits to unthankful men. Who sunk the Turkish galleys in the straits but Malafort? Who rescued the French merchants when they were boarded and stowed under hatches by the pirates of Angiers, when every minute they did expect to be chained to the oar, but you're now doubted admiral? Oh, then you filled the air with shouts of joy and did proclaim when hope had left them, and grim looked despair hovered with sail-stretched wings over their heads. To me, as to the Neptune of the sea, they owed the restitution of their goods, their lives, their liberties. Oh, can it then be probable, my lords, that he that never became the master of a pirate ship, but at the main yard hung the captain up and caused the rest to be thrown overboard, should after all these proofs of deadly hate so oft expressed against them, entertain a thought of quarter with them, but much less to the perpetual ruin of my glories, to join with them, to lift a wicked arm against my mother country, this Marseille, which my prodigal expense of blood I have so oft protected.
What you have done is granted and applauded, but yet know this glorious relation of your actions must not so blind our judgment as to suffer this most unnatural crime you stand accused of to pass unquestioned.
No, you must produce reasons of more validity and weight to plead in your defense, or we shall hardly conclude you innocent.
A large volume of your former worthy deeds, with your experience both what and when to do, but makes against you.
For had your care and courage been the same as heretofore, the dangers we are plunged in would have been ease prevented.
What have I omitted in the power of flesh and blood, even in the birth, to strangle the designs of this hell-bred wolf, my son? Alas, my lords, I am no god, nor like him could foresee his cruel thoughts and cursed purposes. Nor would the sun at my command forbear to make his progress to the other world, affording to us one continued light. Nor could my breath disperse those foggy mists covered with which, and darkness of the night, their navy undiscerned, without resistance, beset our harbor. Make not that my fault, which you in justice must ascribe to fortune. But if that, nor my former acts, nor what I have delivered can prevail with you to make good my integrity and truth, rip up this bosom and pluck out the heart that hath been ever loyal.
How? A trumpet? Inquire the cause.
Oh, thou searcher of men's hearts, and sure defender of the innocent, my other sins, my other crying sins, a while not looked on. If I in this am guilty, strike me dead, or by some unexpected means confirm that I am accused unjustly.
Speak the motives that bring thee hither.
From our admiral thus. He does salute you fairly, and desires it may be understood no public hate hath brought him to Marseille. Nor seeks he the ruin of his country, but aims only to wreak a private wrong. And if from you he may have leave and liberty to decide it in a single combat, he will give up good pledges, if he fall in the trial of his right. We shall weigh anchor and no more molest this town with hostile arms.
Speak to the man, if in this presence he appear to you, to whom you bring this challenge.
'Tis to you.
His father?
Can it be?
Strange and prodigious.
Thou seest I stand unmoved. Were thy voice thunder, it should not shake me. Say, what would the viper?
The reverence of father's name may challenge, and duty of a son no more remembered. He does defy thee to the death.
Go on.
And with his sword will prove it on thy head. Thou art a murderer, an atheist, and that all attributes of men turned furies cannot express thee. This he will make good if thou darest give him a meeting.
Oh, dare I live? Dare I, when mountains of my sins overwhelm me at my last gasp, ask for mercy? How I bless thy coming captain! Never man to me arrived so opportunely, and thy message, however it may seem, to threaten death, does yield to me a second life in curing my wounded honor. Stand I, yet suspected as a confederate with this enemy, whom of all men, against all ties of nature, he marks out for destruction? You are just, immortal powers, and in this merciful in that it takes from any sorrow, and my shame for being the father to so bad a son, in that you are pleased to offer up this monster to my correction. Blush and repent as you are bound, my honorable lords. Your ill opinions of me, not great Brutus, the father of the Roman liberty, with more assured constancy, beheld his traitor sons for laboring to call home the banished Tarquins, scourged with rods to death, than I will show when I take back the life this prodigy of mankind received from me.
We are sorry, Monsieur Malafort, for our error, and are much taken with your resolution. But the disparity of years and strength between you and your son, duly considered, we would not so expose you.
Then you kill me under pretense to save me. Oh, my lords, as you love honor and a wronged man's fame, deny me not this fair and noble means to make me right again to all the world. Should any other but myself be chosen to punish this apostate with death, you rob a wretched father of a justice that to all after times will be recorded. Oh, I wish his strength were centuple, his skill equal to my experience, that in his fall he may not shame my victory. I feel the powers and spirits of 20 strong men in me. Were he with wild fire circling, I undaunted would make way to him, as you do, sir, affect, sir, to my daughter Theocrene, as you are my true and ancient friend, and as thou art valiant, and as all love a soldier, second me in this my just petition. In your looks, I see a grant, my lord.
You shall o'erbear me. And since you are so confident in your cause, prepare you for the combat.
With more joy than yet I ever tasted. By the next sun, this disobedient rebel shall hear from me, and so return in safety. I will die or purchase rest to Marseille. Nor can I make doubt but his impiety is a potent charm to edge my sword and add strength to my arm.
He did accept the challenge then?
Nay, more. Was overjoyed in it. And as it had been a fair invitement to a solemn feast, and not a combat to conclude with death, he cheerfully embraced it.
Are the articles signed to on both parts?
At the father's suit, with much unwillingness, the governor consented to him.
You are inward with our admiral. Could you yet never learn what the nature of the quarrel is that renders the son more than incensed, implacable against the father?
Never. Yet I have, as far as manners would give warrant to it, with my best curiousness of care, observed him. I have sat with him in his cabin a day together, yet not a syllable exchanged between us. Sigh he did often, as if inward grief and melancholy at that instant would choke up his vital spirits, and now and then a tear or two, as in derision of the toughness of his rugged temper, would fall on his hollow cheeks, which but once felt a sudden flash of fury to dry up, and laying then his hand upon his sword, he would murmur, but yet so as I oft heard him, "We shall meet, cruel father. Yet we shall, when I'll exact for every womanish drop of sorrow from these eyes, a strict account of much more from thy heart."
'Tis wondrous strange.
And past my apprehension.
Yet what makes the miracle greater, when from the main top assails descried, all thoughts that do concern himself laid by. No lion pinched with hunger rouses himself more fiercely from his den. Then he comes on deck, and there, how wisely he gives directions, and how stout he is in his executions. We, to admiration, have been eyewitnesses. Yet he never minds the booty when 'tis made ours, but as if the danger in the purchase of the prey delighted him much more than the reward. His will made known, he does retire himself to his private contemplation. No joy expressed by him for victory.
Here he comes, but with more cheerful looks than ever yet I saw him wear.
It was long since resolved on, nor must I stagger now. May the cause that forces me to this unnatural act be buried in everlasting silence, and I find rest in death or my revenge. To either I stand equal. Pray you, gentlemen, be charitable in your censures of me, and do not entertain a false belief that I am mad for undertaking that which must be, when effected, still repented. It adds to my calamity that I have discourse and reason, and but too well know I can nor live nor end a wretched life, but both ways I am impious. Do not, therefore, ascribe the perturbation of my soul to a servile fear of death. I oft have viewed all kinds of his inevitable darts, nor are they terrible. Were I condemned to leap from the cloud-covered brows of a steep rock into the deep, or courteous-like to fill up for my country's safety and in after name a bottomless abyss, or charge through fire, it could not so much shake me as the encounter of this day's single enemy.
If you please, sir, you may shun it or defer it.
Not for the world. Yet, two things I entreat you. The first is you'll not inquire the difference between myself and him, which as a father once I honored, now my deadliest enemy. The last is, if I fall, to bear my body far from this place, and where you please inter it. I should say more, but by his sudden coming I am cut off.
Let me, sir, have the honor to be your second.
With your pardon, sir, I must put in for that, since our tried friendship hath lasted from our infancy.
I have served under your command, and you have seen me fight, and handsomely, though I say it, and if now at this downright game I may but hold your cards, I'll not pull down the side.
I rest much bound to your so noble offers, and I hope shall find your pardon, though I now refuse them, for which I'll yield strong reasons, but as briefly as the time will give me leave. For me to borrow that am supposed the weaker any aid from the assistance of my second sword might write me down in the black list of those that have nor fire nor spirit of their own, but dare and do as they derive their courage from his example, on whose help and valor they wholly do depend. Now let this suffice in my excuse for that. Now, if you please, on both parts to retire to yonder mount, where you, as in a Roman theater, may see the bloody difference determined. Your favors meet my wishes.
'Tis approved of by me, and I command you lead the way and leave me to my fortune.
I would gladly be a spectator, since I am denied to be an actor, of each blow and thrust, and punctually observe them.
You shall have all you desire. For in a word or two, I must make bold to entertain the time, if he gives suffrage to it.
Well, yes, I will. I'll hear thee, and then kill thee. Nay, farewell.
Embrace with love on both sides, and with us leave deadly hate and fury.
From this place you ne'er shall see both living.
What's past help is beyond prevention.
Well, now we are alone, sir, and thou hast liberty to unload the burden which thou groanst under. Speak thy griefs.
I shall, sir, but in a perplexed form and method which you only can interpret, when you had not a guilty knowledge in your bosom of the language which you forced me to deliver, so I were nothing. As you are my father, I bend my knee and uncompelled profess my life and all that's mine to be your gift, and that in a son's duty I stand bound to lay this head beneath your feet and run all desperate hazards for your ease and safety. But this confessed on my part, I rise up, and not as with a father all respect, love, fear, and reverence cast off, but as a wicked man I thus expostulate with you. Why have you done that which I dare not speak? And in the action change the humble shape of my obedience to rebellious rage and insolent pride, and with shut eyes constrain me to run my bark of honor on a shelf. I must not see it, nor if I saw it, shun it. In my wrongs, nature suffers and looks backward, and mankind trembles to see me pursue what beasts would fly from. For when I advance this sword, as I must do against your head, piety will weep and filial duty mourn to see their altars which you built up in me in a moment razed and ruined, that you could. From my grieved soul I wish it, but produce to qualify, not excuse, your deed of horror. One seeming reason that I might fix here and move no farther.
Have I so far lost a father's power that I must give account of my actions to my son? Or must I plead as a fearful prisoner at the bar, while he that owes his being to me sits a judge to censure that which only by myself ought to be questioned? Mountains sooner fall beneath their valleys, and the lofty pine pay homage to the bramble, or what else is preposterous in nature, ere my tongue in one short syllable yields satisfaction to any doubt of thine, nay, though it were a certainty disdaining argument. Since though my deeds wore hell's black livery, to thee they should appear triumphal robes, set off with glorious honor, thou being bound to see with my eyes, and to hold that reason that takes or birth or fashion from my will.
This sword divides that slavish knot.
Oh, it cannot. It cannot, wretch. And if thou but remember from whom thou hadst this spirit, thou darest not hope it. Who trained thee up in arms but I? Who taught thee men were men only when they durst look down with scorn on death and danger, and condemned all opposition, till plumed victory had made her constant stand upon their helmets? Under my shield thou hast fought as securely as the young eaglet, covered with the wings of her fierce dam, learns how and where to prey. All that is manly in thee I call mine, but what is weak and womanish, thine own. And what I gave, since thou art proud, ungrateful, presuming to contend with him, to whom submission is due, I will take from thee. Look therefore for extremities, and expect not I will correct thee as a son, but kill thee as a serpent swollen with poison, who surviving a little longer with infection's breath, would render all things near him like itself contagious. Nay, now my anger's up. 10,000 virgins kneeling at my feet, and with one general cry, howling for mercy, shall not redeem thee.
Thou incensed power, a while forbear thy thunder, and let me have no aid in my revenge, if from the grave my mother!
You shall never name her more.
They are at it.
That thrust was put strongly home,
but with more strength avoided.
Welcome in. He has drawn blood of him yet. Well done, old cock.
That was a strange miss.
That a certain hit.
He's slain. The day is ours.
The admiral's slain.
The father is victorious.
Let us haste to gratulate his conquest.
We to mourn the fortune of the son.
with utmost speed acquaint the governor with the good success, that he may entertain to his full merit the father of his country's peace and safety.
Were a new life hid in each mangled limb, I would search and find it. And however to some, I may seem cool thus to tyrannize upon this senseless flesh. Oh, I glory in it, that I have power to be unnatural is my security. Die all my fears and waking jealousies which have so long been my tormentors. There's now no suspicion. A fact which I alone am conscious of can never be discovered, or the cause that called this duel on. I, being above all perturbations, nor is it in the power of fate again to make me wretched.
All honor to the conqueror. Who dares tax my friend of treachery now?
I am very glad, sir, you have sped so well. But I must tell you thus much, to put you in mind that a low ebb must follow your high swollen tide of happiness. You have purchased this honor at a high price.
Oh, 'tis Bellegarde above all estimation, and a little to be exalted with it cannot savor of arrogance. That to this arm and sword Marseille owes the freedom of her fears, or that my loyalty, not long since eclipsed, shines now more bright than ever, are not things to be lamented. Though indeed they may appear too dearly bought, my falling glories being made up again and cemented with the son's blood. It is true, he was my son while he was worthy, but when he shook off his duty to me, which my fond indulgence upon submission might perhaps have pardoned, and grew his country's enemy, I looked on him as a stranger to my family, and a traitor justly proscribed, and he to be rewarded that could bring in his head. I know that in this I am censured rugged and austere, that will vouchsafe not one sad sigh or tear upon his slaughtered body, but I rest well satisfied in myself, being assured that extraordinary virtues, when they soar too high a pitch for common fights to judge of, losing their proper splendor, are condemned for most remarkable vices.
'Tis too true, sir, in the opinion of the multitude. But for myself, that would be held your friend, and hope to know you by a nearer name, they are as they deserve received.
My daughter shall thank you for the favor.
I can wish no happiness beyond it.
Shall we have leave to bear the corpse of our dead admiral, as he enjoined us from this coast?
Oh, provided the articles agreed upon be observed, and you depart hence with it, making oath never hereafter, but as friends, touch upon this shore.
We'll faithfully perform it.
Well, then, as you please, dispose of it. 'Tis an object I could wish to be removed. His sins die with him. So far he has my charity.
He shall have a soldier's funeral.
Farewell.
These rites, paid to the dead, the conqueror that survives must reap the harvest of his bloody labor. Sound all loud instruments of joy and triumph, and with all circumstance and ceremony wait on the patron of liberty, which he at all parts merits.
I am honored beyond my hopes.
'Tis short of your deserts. Lead on. Oh, sir, you must. You are too modest.
Talk not of comfort. I am both ways wretched, and so distracted with my doubts and fears, I know not where to fix my hopes. My loss is certain in a father, or a brother, or both. Such is the cruelty of my fate, and not to be avoided.
You must bear it with patience, madam.
It's not in you to be prevented, should not cause a sorrow which cannot help it.
Fear not, my brave lord, your noble father, fighting is for him as familiar as eating. He can teach our modern duelist how to cleave a button and, in a new way, never yet found out by old Carranza.
May he be victorious, and punish disobedience in his son, whose death in reason should in no part move you, he being but half your brother, and the nearness which that might challenge from you, forfeited by his impious purpose to kill him from whom he received life.
Oh, a general shout
of joy!
Look up, dear lady, sad news never came ushered with loud applause.
I stand prepared to endure the shock of it.
I am out of breath with running to deliver first.
What?
We are all made. My lord has won the day. Your brother slain, the pirates gone, and by the governor and states, and all the men of war he has brought home in triumph. Name your musing. Pay me for my good news hereafter.
Heaven is just.
Oh, give thanks at leisure. Make all haste to meet him. I could wish I were a horse that I might bear you to him upon my back.
Thou art an ass, and this is a sweet burden.
Peace, you crack robe.
All honors we can give you, and rewards, though all that's rich or precious in Marseille were laid down at your feet, can hold no weight with your deservings. Let me glory in your action as if it were my own, and have the honor with the arms of love to embrace the great performer of a deed transcending all this country air could boast of.
Imagine, noble sir, in what we may express our thankfulness, and rest assured it shall be freely granted.
He's an enemy to goodness and to virtue that dares think there's any other thing within our power to give, which you in justice may not boldly challenge.
And as your own, for we will ever be at your devotion.
Well, much honored, sir, and you, my noble lords. I can say only the greatness of your favors overwhelm me, and like too large a sail for the small bark, my poor merits sinks me. That I stand upright in your opinions is an honor exceeding my deserts. I having done nothing but what in duty I stood bound to, and to expect a recompense were base, good deeds being ever in themselves rewarded. Yet, since your liberal bounties tell me that I may, with your allowance, be a suitor, to you, my lord, I am an humble one, and must ask that which known, I fear you will censure me overbold.
It must be something of a strange nature if it find from me denial or delay.
Well, thus then, my lord, since you encourage me, you are happy and a worthy son, and all the comfort that fortune has left me is one daughter. Now, if it may not appear too much presumption to seek to match my lowness with your height, I should desire, and if I may obtain it, I write nil ultra to my largest hopes. She may, in your opinion, be thought worthy to be received into your family and married to your son. Now, their years are equal, and their desires, I think, too. She is not ignoble, nor my state contemptible, and if you think me worthy, your alliance, 'tis all I do aspire to.
You demand that which, with all the service of my life, I shall have labored to obtain from you. Now, sir, why are you so slow to meet for fair and noble an offer? Can France shew a virgin that may be paralleled with her? Is she not the phoenix of the time, the fairest star in the bright sphere of women?
Be not rapt so. Though I dislike not what is oceaned, yet in what so near concerns me, it is fit I should proceed with judgment.
Here she comes. Look on her with impartial eyes, and then let envy, if it can, name one graced feature in which she is defective.
Oh, welcome, girl, my joy, my comfort, my delight, my all. Why dost thou come to greet my victory in such a sable habit? Oh, this showed well when thy father was a prisoner and suspected, but now His faith and loyalty are admired rather than doubted. Now, in your outward garments, you're to express the joy you feel within, nor should you with more curiousness and care pace to the temple to be made a bride than now, when all men's eyes are fixed upon you. You should appear to entertain the honor from me descending to you, and in which you have an equal share.
Heaven has my thanks, with all humility paid for your fair fortune, and so far duty binds me yet a little to mourn a brother's loss, however wicked. The tenderness familiar to our sex may, if you please, excuse.
Oh, thou art deceived. He living was a blemish to thy beauties, but in his death gives ornament and luster to thy perfections, but that they are so exquisitely rare that they admit not the least addition. Oh, here's yet a print of a sad tear on thy cheek. Oh, how it takes from our present happiness. Now, with a father's lips, a loving father's lips, I'll kiss it off, the cause no more remembered.
You forget, sir, the presence we are in.
Well, 'tis well considered. And yet, who is the owner of a treasure above all value, but without offense may glory in the glad possession of it? Nor let it, in your excellence, beget wonder, or any here that, looking on the daughter, I feast myself in the imagination of those sweet pleasures and allowed delights I tasted from the mother, who still lives in this, her perfect model, for she had such smooth and high-arched brows, such sparkling eyes whose every glance stored Cupid's emptied quiver, and such ruby lips, and such a lovely brow, disdaining all adulterate aids of art, kept a perpetual spring upon her face, as death himself lamented, being forced to blast it with his paleness. And if now her brightness, dimmed with sorrow, take and please you, well, think, young lord, when she appears herself, this veil removed, in her own natural pureness, how far she will transport you.
Did she need it? The praise which you, and well deserve, give to her, much of necessity raise new desires in one indebted more to years. To me, your words are but as oil poured on a fire, that flames are already at the height.
No more. No, I do believe you. And let me from you find so much credit when I make her yours. I do possess you of a gift which I, with much unwillingness, part from. My good lords, I forbear your further trouble. Give me leave, for on the sudden I am indisposed to retire to my own house and rest. Tomorrow, as you command me, I will be your guest, and having decked my daughter like herself, you shall have further conference.
You are master of your own will, but fail not. I'll expect you.
Nay, I will be excused. I must part with you, my dearest Theocrine. Give me thy hand, I will support thee.
You grip it too hard, sir.
Indeed I do, but have no further end in it, but love and tenderness, such as I may challenge, and you must grant. Thou art a sweet one. Yes, and to be cherished.
I still deserve it.
Have you been careful?
With my best endeavors. Let them bring stomachs, there's no want of meat, sir. Portly and curious viands prepare to please all kinds of appetites.
'Tis well. I love a table furnished with full plenty and store of friends to eat it, but with this caution, I would not have my house a common inn, for some men that come rather to devour me than to present their service. At this time, too, it being a serious and solemn meeting, I must not have my board pestered with shadows that under other men's protection break in without invitement.
With your favor, then, you must double your guard, my lord. For all my knowledge, there are some so sharp set not to be kept out by a file of musketeers. And 'tis less danger, I'll undertake, to stand at push of pike with an enemy in a breach, that undermined too, and the cannon playing on it, than to stop one harpy, your perpetual guest, from entrance when the dresser, the cook's drum thunders come on. The service will be lost else.
What is he?
As tall a trencherman, that is most certain, as e'er demolished by fortification as soon as battered. And if the rim of his belly were not made of a much tougher stuff than his buff jerkin, there were no defense against the charge of his guts. You needs must know him. He's eminent for his eating.
Oh, Bellegarde.
The same. One of the Admiral's cast captains who swear, there being no war nor hope of any, the only drilling is to eat devoutly and to be ever drinking, that's allowed of. But they know not where to get it, that's the spite on.
The more their misery. Yet if you can, for this day put him off.
It is beyond the invention of man.
No, say this only. And as from me, you apprehend me?
Yes, sir.
But it must be done gravely.
Never doubt me, sir.
We'll dine in the great room, but let the music and banquet be prepared here.
This will make him lose his dinner at least, and that will vex him. As for the sweetmeats, when they are trod underfoot, let him take his share with the pages and lackeys, or scramble in the rushes.
'Tis near 12. I keep a watch within me, never misses, save thee, Master Steward.
You're most welcome, sir.
Has thy lord slept well tonight? I come to inquire. I had a foolish dream that, against my will, carried me from my lodging to learn only how he's disposed.
He's in most perfect health, sir.
Let me but see him feed heartily at dinner, and I'll believe it too. For from that ever I make a certain judgment.
It holds surely in your own constitution.
And in all men's, 'tis the best symptom. Let us lose no time. Delay is dangerous.
Troth, sir, if I might without offense deliver what my lord has committed to my trust, I shall receive it as a special favor.
Will fiat and discourse, as the proverb says, for health's sake after dinner, or rather, after supper. Willingly then I'll walk a mile to hear thee.
Nay, good sir, I will be brief and pithy.
Prithee be so.
He bid me say of all his guests that he stands most affected to you, for the freedom and plainness of your manners. He ne'er observed you to twirl a dish about you did not like of, all being pleasing to you, or to take a say of venison or stale fowl by your nose, which is a solecism at another's table, but by strong eating of them did confirm they ever were delicious to your palate. But when they were mortified, as the Huguenot says, and so your part grows greater, nor do you find a fault with the sauce, keen hunger being the best, which ever to your much praise you bring with you. Nor will you with impertinent relations, which is a masterpiece, when the meat's before you, forget your teeth to use your nimble tongue, but do the feat you come for.
Be advised, and end your jeering, for if you proceed, you'll feel, as I can eat, I can be angry, and beating may ensue.
I'll take your counsel and roundly come to the point. My lord much wonders that you, that are courtier as a soldier, in all things else, and every day can vary your actions and discourse, continue constant to this one suit?
To one? 'Tis well I have one, unpawned. In these days, every cast commander is not blessed with the fortune, I assure you. But why this question? Does this offend him?
Not much. But he believes it is the reason you ne'er presume to fit above the salt. And therefore this day, our great admiral, with other states being invited guests, he does entreat you to appear among them in some fresh habit.
The staff shall not serve to beat the dog off. These are soldiers' garments, and so by consequence grow contemptible?
It has stung him.
I would I were acquainted with the players, in charity that they might furnish me, but there's no faith in brokers, and for believing tailors, they are only to be read of, but not seen, and sure they are confined to their own hells, and there they live invisible. Well, I must not be fobbed off thus. I pray you report my service to the Lord Governor. I will obey him, and though my wardrobe's poor, rather than lose his company at the feast, I will put on the richest suite I have and fill the chair that makes me worthy of.
We are shut of them. You'll be seen no more here. How my fellows will bless me for his absence. He had starved him had he stayed any longer. Would he could, for his own sake, shift a shirt. And that's the utmost of his ambition. Adieu, good captain.
'Tis a strange fondness.
'Tis beyond example. His resolution to part with his estate, to make her dower the weightier, is nothing but to observe how curious he is in his own person to add ornament to his daughter's ravishing features is the wonder. I sent a page of mine in the way of courtship this morning to her to present my service, from whom I understand all. There he found him, solicitous in what shape she should appear. This gown was rich, but the fashion stale. The other was quaint and neat, but the stuff not rich enough. Then does he curse the tailor, and in rage falls on her shoemaker for wanting art to express in every circumstance the form of her most delicate foot. Then sits in council with much deliberation to find out what tire would best adorn her. And one chosen varying in his opinion, he tears off and stamps it underfoot. Then tries a second, a third, and fourth, and satisfied at length with much ado in that, he grows again perplexed and troubled where to place her jewels to be most marked, and whether she should wear this diamond on her forehead or between her milk-white paps, disputing on it both ways. Then taking in his hand a rope of pearl, the best of France, he seriously considers whether she should dispose this on her arm or on her neck, with 20 other trifles too tedious to deliver.
I have known him from his first youth, but never yet observed in all the passages of his life and fortunes virtues so mixed with vices. Valiant, the world speaks him, but with that bloody. Liberal in his gifts too, but to maintain his prodigal expense, a fierce extortioner. An impotent lover of women for a flash, but his fires quenched, hating as deadly. The truth is, I am not ambitious of this match, nor will I cross you in your affections.
I have ever found you, and 'tis my happiness, a loving father, and careful of my good. By the loud music, as you gave order for his entertainment, he's come into this house 2 hours long, since the colonels, commissioners, and captains, to pay him all the rights his worth can challenge, went to wait on him hither.
You are most welcome, and what I speak to you does from my heart disperse itself to all.
You meet, my lord, your trouble.
Rather, sir, increase of honor, when you are pleased to grace my house.
The favor is doubled on my part, most worthy sir, since your fair daughter, my incomparable mistress, deigns us her presence.
View her well, brave Beaufort, but yet at distance. You hereafter may make your approaches nearer when the priest hath made it lawful. And were not she mine, well, I durst aloud proclaim it. Hymen ne'er put on his saffron-colored robe to change a barren virgin name with more good omens than at her nuptials. Look on her again, and tell me if she now appear the same that she was yesterday.
Being herself, she cannot but be excellent. These rich and curious dressings, which in others might cover deformities, from her take luster, nor can add to her.
You conceive her right, and in your admiration of her sweetness, you can only deserve her. Blush not, girl. Thou art above his praise, or mine, nor can obsequious flattery, though she should use her 1,000 oiled tongues to advance thy worth, give aught, for that's impossible, but take from thy more than human graces. And even then, when she hath spent herself with her best strength, the wrong she has done thee shall be so apparent that loosing her own servile shape and name, she will be thought detraction. Well, but I forget myself, and something whispers to me I have said too much.
I know not what to think on it, but there's some mystery in it, which I fear will be too soon discovered.
I much wrong your patience, noble sir, by too much hugging of my proper issue, and like the foolish crow, believe my black brood swans.
There needs not, sir, the least excuse for this. Nay, I must have your arm, you being the master of this feast, and this the mistress.
I am anything that you shall please to make me.
Nay, 'tis yours, without more compliment.
Your will's a law, sir.
Would I had been born a lord.
Ooh, or I a lady?
It may be you were both begot in court, though bred up in the city, for your mothers, as I have heard, loved the lobby, and there nightly were seen strange apparitions. And who knows but that some noble fawn, heated with wine and cloyed with partridge, had a kind of longing to trade in sprats. This needs no exposition, but can you yield a reason for your wishes?
Why, had I been born a lord, I had been no servant.
And whereas now necessity makes us waiters, we had been attended on.
And might have slept then as long as we pleased, and fed when we had stomachs, and worn new clothes, nor lived as now in hope of a cast gown or petticoat.
You are fools, and ignorant of your happiness. Ere I was sworn to the pantoffel, I have heard my tutor prove it by logic, that a servant's life was better than his master's, and from that I learned from him, if my memory fail me not. I'll make it good.
Oh, proceed, my little wit, in decimo sexto.
Thus then, from the king to the beggar, by gradation, all are servants, and you must grant the slavery is less to learn to please one than many.
True.
Well then, and first to you, ma'am. You complain you serve one lord, but your lord serves 1,000 besides his passions. Those are his worst masters. You must humor him, and he is bound to soothe every grim sir above him. If he frown for the least neglect, you fear to lose your place. But if, and with all slavish observation, from the minion's self to the groom of his close stool, he hourly seeks not favor, he is sure to be eased of his office, though perhaps he bought it. Nay, more, that high disposer of all such that are subordinate to him serves and fears the fury of the many-headed monster, the giddy multitude. And as a horse is still a horse for all his golden trappings, but your serving men are simply serving men in rich liveries.
Most rare infant. Where learnedst thou this morality?
Lie thou, dull pate, as I told thee, my tutor.
Oh, now for us, girl.
I'm cut of the governor.
Quick, sirs, see all things perfect.
Let the blame be ours else.
And, as I said, when we are at the banquet, and high in our cups, for 'tis no feast without it, especially among soldiers, Theocrin being retired, as that's no place for her, take you occasion to rise from the table and lose no opportunity.
'Tis my purpose, and if I can win her to give her heart, I have a holy man in readiness to join our hands, for the admiral, her father, repents him of his grant to me, and so far transported with a strange opinion of her fair features, that should we desire it, I think here long he will believe strongly the dauphin is not worthy of her. I am much amazed with it.
Nay, dispatch thee, fellows.
We are ready when you please. Sweet forms your pardon, it has been such a busy time, I could not tender that ceremonious respect which you deserve. But now the great work ended, I will attend the less, and with all care observe and serve you.
This is a penned speech, and serves as a perpetual preface to a dinner made of fragments.
We wait on you.
You are not merry, sir.
Oh, yes, my good lord, you have given us ample means to drown all cares, and yet I nourish strange thoughts, which I would most willingly destroy.
Pray you, take your place.
And drink a health. and let it be, if you please, to the worthiest of women.
Oh,
now
well.
observe him.
Now, give me the bowl, since you do me the honor. I will begin it.
May we know her name, sir?
You shall. I will not choose a foreign queen's, nor yet our own, for that would relish of tame flattery. Nor do their height of title or absolute power confirm their worth and goodness, these being heaven's gifts, and frequently conferred on such as are beneath them. Nor will I name the king's mistress, howsoever she in his esteem may carry it, but if I, as wine gives me liberty, you may use my freedom, not swayed this way or that with confidence, and I will make it good on any equal, if it must be her, whose outward form is bettered by the beauty of her mind. She lives not that with justice can pretend an interest to this so sacred health, but my fair daughter, and he that only doubts it, I do pronounce a villain. This to her then.
What may we think of this?
It matters not.
Now, for my part, I would soothe him rather than draw on a quarrel, Chamont.
'Tis the safest course, and one I mean to follow.
It has gone round, sir.
Ah, well, now you have done her right. If there be any worthy to second this, propose it boldly. I am your pledge.
Let's pause here, if you please, and entertain the time with something else. Music. Music there in some lofty strain. The song, too, that I gave order for, the new one called The Soldier's Delight.
Who stops me now? Or who dares only say that I appear not in the most rich and glorious habit that renders a man complete? What court so set off with state and ceremonious pomp, but thus accoutred I may enter? Or what feast, through all the elements at once were ransacked, to store it with variety transcending the curiousness and cost, on Trajan's birthday, where princes only and confederate kings did sit as guests, served and attended on by the senators of Rome, sat with a soldier in this his natural and proper shape, might not and boldly fill a seat, and by his present make the great solemnity more honored and remarkable.
'Tis acknowledged, and this a grace done to me unexpected.
But why in armor?
Where's the mystery? Pray you reveal that.
Soldiers out of action, that very rare, but like unbidden guests bring their stools with them for their own defense. At court should feed in gauntlets, they may have their fingers cut else. They're your carpet knights that never charged beyond a mistress' lips, are still most keen and valiant, but to you, whom it does most concern, my lord, I will address my speech, and with the soldier's freedom and my reproof return the bitter scoff you threw upon my poverty. You contemned my courser outside, and from that concluded, as by your groom you made me to understand, I was unworthy to sit at your table among these tissues and embroideries, unless I changed my habit. I have done it, and show myself in that which I have worn in the heat and fervor of a bloody fight, and then it was in fashion, not as now, ridiculous and despised. This hath passed through a wood of pikes, and everyone aimed at it, yet scorned to take impression from their fury. With this, as still you see it fresh and new, I have charged through fire that would have singed your sables, black fox, and ermines, and changed the proud color of scarlet through the right Tyrian dye. But now, as if the trappings made the man, such only are admired that come adorned with what's no part of them. This is mine own, my richest suit, a suit I must not part from, but not regarded now, And yet, remember, 'tis we that bring you in the means of feasts, banquets, and revels, which when you possess with barbarous ingratitude, you deny us to be made sharers in the harvest, which our sweat and industry reaped and sowed for you. The silks you wear, we with our blood spin for you. This massy plate, that with the ponderous weight does make your cupboards crack, we, unaffrighted with tempests, or the long and tedious way, or dreadful monsters of the deep that wait with open jaws still ready to devour us, fetch from the other world. Let it not then, and after ages, to your shame be spoken, that you, with no relenting eyes, look on our wants that feed your plenty, or consume in prodigal and wanton gifts on thrones the kingdom's treasure, yet detain from us the debt that with the hazard of our lives we have made you stand engaged for, or force us against all civil government in armor to require that with which all willingness should be tendered ere demanded.
I commend this wholesome sharpness in you, and prefer it before obsequious tameness. It shows lovely. Nor shall the rain of your good counsel fall upon the barren sands, but spring up fruit such as you long have wished for. And the rest of your profession, like you discontented for want of means, shall in their present payment be bound to praise your boldness. And hereafter, I will take order you shall have no cause, for want of change to put your armor on, but in the face of an enemy, not as now among your friends. To that which is due to you, to furnish you like yourself, of mine own bounty, I'll add 500 crowns.
I, to my power, will follow the example.
Take this, Captain. 'Tis all my present store, but when you please command me further.
This is the luckiest chest ever come from me. Let a soldier use no other scribe to draw the form of his petition. This will speed when your thrice humble supplications with prayers for increase of health and honors to their grave lordships shall as soon as read be pocketed up, the cause no more remembered when this dumb rhetoric. Well, I have a life, which I in thankfulness for your great favors, my noble lords, when you please to command it, must never think mine own. Broker, be happy, these golden birds fly to thee.
You are dull, sir, and seem not to be taken with the passage you saw presented.
Passage? I observed none. My thoughts were elsewhere busied. She is in danger to be lost forever if speedily I not come to her rescue, for so my genius tells me.
What chimeras work on your fantasy?
Fantasies? They are truths. Where is my Theocrine? You have plotted to rob me of my daughter. You bring me to her, or I'll call down the saints to witness for me. You are inhospitable.
You amaze me. Your daughter's safe, and now exchanging courtship with my son, her servant.
Oh!
Why do you hear this with such distracted looks, since to that end you brought her hither?
Just confessed I did, but now pray you, pardon me, and if you please, ere she deliver up her virgin fort, I would observe what is the art he uses in planting his artillery against it. She is my only care, nor must she yield but upon noble terms.
'Tis so determined.
Yet I am jealous.
Overmuch, I fear. What passions are these?
Come, I will bring you where you, with these, if they so please, may see this love scene acted.
There is something more than fatherly love in this.
We wait upon you.
Since then, you meet my flames with equal ardor, as you profess. It is your bounty, mistress, nor must I call it debt, yet 'tis your glory, that your excess supplies my want and makes me strong in my weakness, which could never be but in your good opinion.
You teach me, sir, what I should say, since from your son of favor, I, like dim Phoebe, in herself obscure, borrow that light I have.
Which you return with large increase. since that you will overcome, and I dare not contend. Were you but pleased to make what's yet divided one.
I have already in my wishes. Modesty forbids me to speak more.
But what assurance? But still without offense, may I demand that may secure me that your heart and tongue join up to make up this harmony?
Choose any suiting your love, distinguished from lust to ask, and mine to grant.
Yonder they are.
At distance too, 'tis yet well.
I may take then this hand, and with 1,000 burning kisses, swear 'tis the anchor to my hopes.
May, sir?
This is somewhat too much.
And this done, view myself in these true mirrors.
Ever true to you, sir, and may they lose the ability of sight when they seek other object.
This is more than I can give consent to.
And a kiss,
Go.
thus printed on your lips, will not distaste you.
Her lips?
Oh, why, where should he kiss? Are you distracted?
Then what this holy man hath made it lawful.
A priest too! I must break in.
And what spoke here is registered above. I must engross those favors to myself, which are not to be named.
All I can give, but what they are I know not.
I'll instruct you.
Oh, my blood boils!
Pray you, contain yourself. Methinks his courtship's modest.
Then being mine, and wholly mine, the river of your love to kinsmen and allies, nay, to your father, how here out of his tenderness he admires you, must in the ocean of your affection to me be swallowed up. And what a name compared with what you owe me.
'Tis most fit, sir. The stronger bond that binds me to you must dissolve the weaker.
Ruined if I come not fairly off.
There's nothing wanting but your consent.
Oh, some strange intervention. Aid me. This. Yes, it must be so.
Why do you stagger, when what you seem so much to wish is offered?
Both parties being agreed to.
I'll not court a grant from you, nor do I wrong your daughter, though I say my son deserves her.
'Tis far from my humble thoughts to undervalue him I cannot prize too high. For howsoever from my own fond indulgence I have sung her praises with too prodigal a tongue, that tenderness laid by, I stand confirmed all that I fancied excellent in her, balanced with what is really his own, it holds weight in no proportion.
New turnings.
Whither tends this?
Had you observed, my lord, with what a sweet gradation he wooed, as I did punctually, well, you cannot blame her, though she did listen with a greedy ear to his modest offers. But so great a good as then flowed to her should have been with more deliberation entertained, and not such haste swallowed. Now she shall first consider seriously what the blessing is, and in what ample manner to give thanks for it, and then receive it. And though I shall think short minutes, years, till it be perfected, I will defer that which I must so most desire, and so must she, till longing expectation that heightens pleasure makes her truly know her happiness, and with what outstretched arms she must embrace it.
This is curiousness beyond example.
Well, let it then begin from me. In what's mine own, I'll use my will and yield no further reason. I lay claim to the liberty of a subject. You fall not off, but be obedient, or by the hair I'll drag thee home. You censure me as you please. I'll take my own way. Oh, the inward fires that wanting vent consume me.
'Tis most certain he's mad, or worse.
How worse?
Nay, there I leave you. My thoughts are free.
This I foresaw.
Take comfort. He shall walk in clouds, but I'll discover him, and he shall find, and feel if he excuse not, and with strong reasons this gross injury, I can make use of my authority.
flames are these my wild desires fan in me? The torch that feeds them was not lighted at thy altars, Cupid. Vindicate thyself and do not own it, and confirm it rather, that this infernal brand that turns me cinders was by the snake-haired sisters thrown into my guilty bosom. Oh, that I was never accursed with having issue. My son's blood, that like the poison shirt of Hercules grows to each part about me, which my hate forced from him with much willingness may admit some weak defense, but my most impious love to my fair daughter, Theocrine, none, since my affection, rather wicked lust, that does pursue her is a greater crime than any detestation with which I should afflict her innocence. Oh, with what cunning I have betrayed myself, and did not feel the scorching heat that now with fury rages. Why was I tender of her? Covered with that fond disguise, this mischief stole upon me. I thought it no offense to kiss her often, or twine mine arms around her softer neck, and by false shadows of a father's kindness I long deceived myself, but now the effect is too apparent. How I strove to be in her opinion held the worthiest man in courtship, form and feature, envying him that was preferred before me, and yet then my wishes to myself were not discovered. But still my fires increased, and with delight I would call her mistress, willfully forgetting the name of daughter, choosing rather she should style me servant, and then with reverence father, yet mocking. I ne'er cherished obscene hopes, but in my troubled slumbers, often thought she was too near to me, and then sleeping, blushed at my imagination, which passed, my eyes being open, not condemning it. I was ravished with the pleasure of the dream. Yet, spite of these temptations, I have reason that pleads against them and commands me to extinguish these abominable fires. And I will do it. I will send her back to him that loves her lawfully. Within there!
Sir, did you call?
I looked no sooner on her, but all my bloated power of reason leaves me, and passion again usurps her empire. Does none else wait me?
I am wretched, sir, should any owe more duty.
This is worse than disobedience. Leave me.
On my knees, sir, as I have ever squared my will by yours, and liked and loathed with your eyes, I beseech you to teach me what the nature of my fault is that hath incensed you. Sure 'tis one of weakness, and not of malice, which your gentler temper on my submission I hope will pardon, which, granted by your piety, if that I, out of the least neglect of mine hereafter, make you remember it, may I sink ever under your dread command.
Oh, my stars! Who can but dote on this humility that sweetens lovely in her tears? The fetters that seem to lessen in their weight, but now by this grow heavier on me.
Dear sir.
Peace! I must not hear thee.
Nor look on me?
No! Thy looks and words are charms.
May they have power, then, to calm the tempest of your wrath. Alas, sir, did I but know in what I give offense, in my repentance I would show my sorrow for what is past, and in my care hereafter kill the occasion, or cease to be. Since life without your favor is to me a load I would cast off.
that my heart were rent in sunder, that I might expire, the cause in my death buried, yet I know not. With such prevailing oratory, 'tis begged from me that to deny thee would convince me to have sucked the milk of tigers. Rise, and I, but in a perplexed and mysterious method, will make relation. That which all the world admires and cries up in thee for perfections are, to unhappy me, foul blemishes and mulcts in nature. If thou hadst been born deformed and crooked in the features of thy body, as the manners of thy mind, with a dwarf's stature to a giant waist, sour-breathed, with claws for fingers on thy hands, splay-footed, gouty-legged, and over all a loathsome leprosy had spread itself and made thee shun of human fellowships, I had been blessed.
Why would you wish a monster for such a one, or worse you have described, to call you father?
But rather then, as now, though I had drowned thee for it in the sea, appearing as thou dost, a new Pandora, with Juno's fair cow eyes, Minerva's brow, Aurora's blushing cheeks, Hebe's fresh youth, Venus's soft paps, with Thetis' silver feet.
Sir, you have liked and loved them, and oft forced with your hyperboles of praise poured on them my modesty to a defensive red, strewed o'er that paleness which you then were pleased to style the purest white.
And in that cup I drank the poison that I now feel dispersed through every vein and artery. Wherefore art thou so cruel to me? This thy outward shape brought a fierce war against me, not to be by blood and flesh resisted, but to leave me no hope of freedom from the magazine of thy mind's forces. Treacherously thou drewest up auxiliary helps to strengthen that which was already in itself too potent. Oh, thy beauty gave off the first charge, but thy duty, seconded with thy care and watchful studies to please and serve my will in all that might raise up content in me like thunder, break through all opposition, and my ranks of reason disbanded. My victorious passions fell to bloody execution and compelled me with willing hands to tie on my own chains, and with a kind of flattering joy to glory in my captivity.
I, in this you speak, sir, am ignorance itself.
And so continue. For knowledge of the arms thou bearest against me would make thee curse thyself, but yield no aids for thee to help me. And 'twere cruelty in me to wound that spotless innocency, howe'er it make me guilty. In a word, the pleurisy of goodness is thy ill, thy virtues vices, and thy humble lowness far worse than stubborn sullenness and pride. Thy looks that ravish all beholders else as killing as the basilisks, their tears expressed in sorrow for the much I suffer, a glorious insultation. And no sign of pity in thee, and to hear thee speak in thy defense, though but in silent action, would make the hurt already deeply festered incurable. And therefore, as thou wouldst not by thy presence raise fresh furies to torment me, I do conjure thee by a father's power, and 'tis my curse, I dare not think it lawful to sue unto thee in a nearer name, without reply, to leave me.
My obedience, never learned yet to question your commands, but willingly to serve 'em. Yet I must, since that your will forbids the knowledge of my fault, lament my fortune.
Oh! Oh, that I have reason to discern the better way and yet pursue the worse. When I look on her, I burn with heat, and in her absence freeze with the cold blasts of jealousy that another should e'er taste those delights that are denied me. And which of their afflictions bring less torture, I hardly can distinguish. Is there then no mean? No. No. So my understanding tells me, and that by my crossed fates it is determined that I am in both ways wretched.
Yonder he walks, ma'am, in much vexation. He hath sent my lady his daughter weeping in, but what the cause is rests yet in supposition.
I guess at it, but must be further satisfied. I will sift him in private. Therefore quit the room.
I am gone, ma'am.
Ah, who disturbs me? Oh, Montreville. Ah, your pardon.
Would you could grant one to yourself. I speak it with the assurance of a friend, and yet before it be too late, make reparation of the gross wrong your indiscretion offered to the governor and his son, nay, to yourself, for there begins my sorrow.
Would I had no greater cause to mourn than their displeasure, for I dare to justify.
We must not do all that we dare in private, friend. I observed your alterations with a stricter eye, perhaps, than others, and to lose no time in repetition, your strange demeanor to your sweet daughter.
Would you could find out some other theme to treat of?
None but this, and this I'll dwell on. How ridiculous and subject to construction.
No more.
Amazes me. And if the frequent trials interchanged between us of love and friendship be to their desert esteemed by you, as they hold weight with me, no inward trouble should be of a shape so horrid to yourself, but that to me you stand bound to discover it, and unlock your secretest thoughts, though the most innocent were loud, crying sins.
So perhaps they are. And therefore be not curious to learn that which known must make you hate me.
Think not so. I am yours in right and wrong. Not shall you find a verbal friendship in me, but an active, and here I vow, I shall no sooner know what the disease is, but if you give leave, I will apply a remedy. Is it madness? I am familiarly acquainted with a deep red man that can with charms and herbs restore you to your reason. Or suppose you are bewitched, he with more potent spells and magical rites shall cure you. Is it heaven's anger?
Huh.
With penitence and sacrifice appease it. Beyond this, there is nothing I can imagine dreadful. In your fame and fortunes, you are secure. Your impious son removed too, that rendered you suspected to the state, and your fair daughter.
Don't press me no farther!
Are you wrong there? Why, what of her? Hath she made shipwreck of her honor, or conspired against your life, or sealed a contract with the devil of hell for the recovery of her young inamorato?
None of these. And yet what must increase the wonder in you, being innocent in herself, she hath wounded me. But where, inquire not. Yet, I know not how, I am persuaded from my confidence of your vowed love to me to trust you with my dearest secret. Pray you, chide me for it, but with a kind of pity, not insulting of my calamity.
Forward.
This same daughter.
What is her fault?
She is too fair to me.
Huh. How is this?
And I have looked upon her more than a father should, and languished to enjoy her as a husband.
Heaven forbid it.
And this is all the comfort you can give me. Where are your promised aids? Your charms, your herbs, your deep red scholars, spells, magic rites, can all these disenchant me? No. No, I must be my own physician and upon myself practice a desperate cure.
Do not condemn me. Enjoin me what you please with any hazard. I'll undertake it. What means have you practiced to quench this hellish fire?
All I could think on, but to no purpose. And yet, sometimes absence does yield a kind of intermission to the fury of the fit.
See her no more then.
'Tis my last refuge. 'Twas my intent, and still is, to desire your help.
Command it.
Thus then, you have a fort, of which you are the absolute lord, whither I pray you bear her, and that the sight of her may not again nourish those flames which I feel something lessened. By all the ties of friendship I conjure you, and by a solemn oath you must confirm it, that though my now calmed passion should rage higher than ever heretofore, and so compel me once more to wish to see her, though I use persuasions mixed with threatenings, nay, add to it, that I thus falling should with hands held up thus kneel at your feet and bathe them with my tears, prayers, or curses, vows, or imprecations, only to look upon her, though at distance you still must be obdurate.
If it be your pleasure, sir, that I shall be unmoved, I will endeavor.
You must swear to be inexorable, as you would prevent the greatest mischief to your friend that fate could throw upon him.
Well, I will obey you. But how the governor will be answered, yet, and 'tis material, is not considered.
Leave that to me. I'll presently give order how you shall surprise her. Be not frighted with her exclamations.
Be you constant to your resolution. I will not fail in mine.
No. Be ever blessed for it.
Not to be spoke with, say you?
No.
Nor you admitted to have conference with her?
Neither. His doors are fast locked up, and solitude dwells round about him. No access allowed to friend or enemy. But...
Nay, be not moved, sir. Let his passion work, and like a hot rein horse, it will quickly tire itself.
Or in his death, which for her sake till now I have forborne, I will revenge the injury he hath done to my true and lawful love.
And how does your father, the governor, relish it?
Troth, he never had affection to the match. Yet, in his pity to me, he's gone in person to his house, nor will he be denied, and if he find not strong and fair reasons, Malafort will hear from him in a kind he does not look for.
In the meantime, pray you put on cheerful looks.
Mine suit my fortune.
Oh, here's Montaigne.
I never could have met you more opportunely. I'll not steal the jest by my relation, but if you will look on the malcontent Bellegarde newly rigged up with the train that follows him, 'twill be an object worthy of your noting.
Look you the comedy, make good the prologue, or the scorn will dwell upon itself.
I'll hazard that. Yes. Oh, observe now.
Nay, Captain! Glorious Captain!
Fall back, rascals! Do you make an owl of me? This day I will receive no more petitions. Here are bills of all occasions and all sizes. If this be the pleasure of a rich suit, would I were again in my buff jerkin or my armor. Then I walked securely by my creditors' noses, and not a dog marked me. Every officer shunned me, and not one lousy prison would receive me. Now, as the ballad says, I am turned gallant. There does not live a thing that I owe a sou to but that does not torment me. A faithful cobbler told me with his all in his hand, I was behindhand with him for setting me upright, and bade me to look to myself. A seamstress, too, that traded but in socks, swore she would set a sergeant on my back for a borrowed shirt and pay the benevolence. The governor and the states bestowed upon me, the city comrades, my moneymongers have swallowed down already. They were sums, I grant, but that I should be such a fool against my oath, being a cashiered captain, to pay debts? Now grown up to 1 in 20 deserves more reprehension, in my judgment, than a shopkeeper or a lawyer that lends money in a long dead vacation.
How do you like his meditation?
Peace. Let him proceed.
Not now go on the score, for shame. And where I shall begin to pawn, I marry, that is considered timely. I paid for this tale of yours, Dame Ostrich, 14 crowns. And yet it is so light, 'twill hardly pass for a tavern reckoning, unless it be to save the charge of painting, nailed on a post for the sign of the feathers. A pox upon the fashion, that a captain cannot think himself a captain if he wear not this, like a forehorse. Yet it is not staple commodity. These are perfume too of the Roman wash. And yet a stale red herring would fill the belly better and hurt the head less. Oh, and this is Venice gold. Would I had it again in French crowns in my pocket. You commanders, that like me have no dead pays, nor can cozen the commissary at a muster, let me stand for an example to you, as you would enjoy your privilege, viz. To pay your debts, and take your lechery gratis, to have your issue warmed by others' fires, to often be drunk and swear, yet pay no forfeit to the poor, but when you share with one another with all your other choice immunities, only of this I seriously advise you. Let courtiers trip like courtiers, and your lords of dirt and dunghills meet their woods and acres and velvets, satins, and tissues, but keep you constant to cloth and chamois.
Have you heard such a penitent homily?
I am studying now where I shall hide myself till the rumor of my wealth and bravery vanish. Oh, let me see. There is a kind of vaulting house not far off, where I used to spend my afternoons. Among suburb she-gamesters. And yet, now that I think on it, I've cracked a ring or two there, which they made others to soldier. No.
Oh, we have spied you!
Upon him without ceremony. Now's the time while he's in the paying vein.
Save you, brave captain.
Flight. How she stares. They are worse than she-wolves to him.
Shame me not in the streets. I was coming to you.
Oh, sir, you may pay in public for the fiddling you had in private.
We hear you are full of crowns, sir.
And therefore, knowing you are open-handed before all be destroyed, I'll put you in mind, sir, of your young heir here.
Here's a second, sir, that looks for a child's portion.
There are reckonings for muscadine, and eggs too must be thought on.
We have not been hasty, sir.
But stayed your leisure, but now you're ripe and leaden with fruit.
'Tis fit you should be polled. Here's a boy, sir. Pray you kiss him. 'Tis your own, sir.
Nay, bust this first. It hath just your eyes and such a promising nose that if the sign deceive me not, in time 'twill prove a notable striker like his father.
And yet you laid it to another.
True, while you were poor, and it was policy, but she that has variety of fathers and makes not choice of him that can maintain it, ne'er studied Aristotle's problems.
A smart queen.
Why, Bratches, will you worry me?
No, but ease you of your golden burthen. The heavy carriage may bring you to a sweating sickness.
Very likely. I so am all already.
Will you come off, sir?
Would I had ne'er come on. Hear me with patience, or I will anger you. Go to. You know me, and do not vex me further. By my sins and your diseases, which are certain truths. Whate'er you think, I am not master at this instant of a livre.
What, and in such a glorious suit?
The like are wretched things too have no money.
You may pawn your clothes, sir.
Will you see your issue starve?
Or the mother's beg?
Why, you unconscionable strumpets! Would you have me transform my hat to double clouts and biggins, my corselet to a cradle, or my belt to swaddle bands, or turn my cloak to blankets, or to sell my sword and spurs for soap and candles? Have you no mercy? What a charitable devil we carry in our breeches.
Now, 'tis time to fetch him off.
Oh, your father does it for us.
The governor.
What are these?
And it like your lordship, very poor spinsters.
I am his nurse and laundress.
You have nursed and laundered me. Hell take you for it. Vanish.
Do, and talk with him hereafter.
'Tis our best course.
We'll find a time to fit him.
Why in this heat, Bellegarde?
You are the cause of it.
Who, I?
Yes, your pied livery and your gold draw these vexations on me. I pray you, strip me and let me be as I was. I will not lose the pleasures and the freedom which I had in my certain poverty for all the wealth fair France is proud of.
We at better leisure will learn the cause of this.
What answer, sir, from the admiral?
None. His daughter is removed to the fort of Montreville, and he himself in person fled, but where is not discovered. I could tell you wonders, but the time denies me. Fit liberty. In a word, let it suffice, the power of our great master is condemned, the sacred laws of God and man profaned. And if I sit down with this injury, I am unworthy of my place, and thou of my acknowledgement. Draw up all the troops. As I go, I will instruct you to what purpose, such as have power to punish, and yet spare from fear or from connivance others ill, though not in act, assist them in their will.
Find them and gag their mouths sure. I alone will be your convoy.
Madam.
Dearest lady.
Let me fight for my mistress.
'Tis in vain. Little cockerel of the kind.
Away with them and do as I command you.
Montreville, you are my father's friend, nay, more, a soldier, and if a right one, as I hope to find you, though in a lawful war you had surprised a city that bowed humbly to your pleasure, in honor you stand bound to guard a virgin from violence, but in a free estate of which you are limbed.
Say what?
But in a free estate of which you are limbed to do a wrong which noble enemies never consent to is such an insolence.
I was actually wondering why there are a
How
bunch
her
of...
heart beats, much like a partridge in a sparhawk's foot, that with a panting silence does lament the fate she cannot fly from. Sweet, take comfort, you are safe, and nothing is intended to you but love and service.
They never came clothed in force and outrage. Upon what assurance, remembering only that my father lives, who will not tamely suffer the disgrace, have you presumed to hurry me from his house, and as I were not worth the waiting on, to snatch me from the duty and attendance of my poor servants?
Let that not afflict you. You shall not want observance. I will be your page, your woman, parasite or fool or any other property, provided you answer my affection.
In what kind?
As you had done young Beaufort's.
How?
Oh, lady. Or, if the name of wife appear a yoke too heavy for your tender neck, so I enjoy you as a private friend or mistress, 'twill be sufficient.
Blessed angels guard me! What frontless impudence is this? What devil hath to thy certain ruin tempted thee to offer me this motion? By my hopes of after joys, submission, not repentance, shall expiate this sole intent.
Intent? 'Tis more. I'll make it act.
Ribald, thou darest not. And with a fever to thy soul, thou but consider that I have a father. And such a father as when this arrives at his knowledge, as it shall, the terror of his vengeance, which sure as fate must follow, will make thee curse the hour in which lust caught thee to nourish these base hopes. And 'tis my wonder thou darest forget how tender he is of me, and that each shadow of a wrong done to me will raise him in a tempest, not to be but with thy heart blood calmed, this when I see him.
As thou shalt never.
Wilt thou murder me?
Oh, no. 'Tis otherwise determined. Fool. The master which in passion kills her slave that may be useful to her does herself the injury. Know thou, most wretched creature, that father thou presum'st upon, that father that when I sought thee in a noble way, denied thee to me, fancying in his hope a higher match from his excess of dotage, hath in his bowels kindled such a flame of impious, most unnatural lust, that now he fears his furious desires may force him to do that he shakes to think on.
Oh, me most wretched!
Never hope again to blast him with those eyes. Their golden beams are unto him arrows of death and hell, but unto me divine artillery. And therefore, since what I so long in vain pursued is offered to me, and by him given up to my possession, do not flatter thyself with an imaginary hope, but that I'll take occasion by the forelock, and make use of my fortune as we walk. I'll tell thee more.
I will not stir.
I'll force thee.
Help! Help!
In vain.
In me my brother's blood is punished at the height.
The coach there.
Here, sir.
Tears, curses, prayers are alike to me. I can and must enjoy my present pleasure, and shall take time to mourn for it at leisure.
I have played the fool, the gross fool, to believe the bosom of a friend will hold a secret mine own could not contain. And my industry in taking liberty from my innocent daughter out of false hopes of freedom to myself is in the little help it yields me punished. She's absent, but I have her figure here, and in every grace and rarity about her are by the pencil of my memory in living colors, painted on my heart. And my fires, too, a short interim closed up, break out with greater fury. Why was I, since 'twas my fate and not to be declined in this, so tender conscienced? Say I had enjoyed what I desired. What had it been but incest? And there's something here that tells me I stand accountable for greater sins I never checked at. And neither had the crime wanted precedent. I have read in story those first great heroes that for their brave deeds were in the world's first infancy styled gods, freely enjoyed what I deny myself. Old Saturn in the golden age embraced his sister Ops, and in the same degree the Thunderer, Juno, Neptune, Thetis, and by their example after the first deluge, Deucalion, Pyrrha. Universal nature has every day, 'tis evident, allows it to creatures of all kinds. The gallant horse covers the mare to which he was the sire. The bird with fertile seed gives new increase to her that hatched him. Why should envious man then brand that close act, which adds proximity to what's most near him, with the abhorred title of incest? Or our later laws forbid what by the first law was granted, No, let old men that are not capable of these delights and solemn superstitious fools prescribe rules to themselves. I will not curb my freedom, but constantly go on with this assurance. I but walk in a path which greater men have trod before me. And this is the fort. Well, open the gate within there.
With your pardon, we must forbid your entrance.
Do you know me?
Perfectly, my lord.
I am this captain's friend.
It may be so, but till we know his pleasure, you must excuse us.
We'll acquaint him with your waiting.
Waiting? Slave, he was ever by me commanded.
As we are by him.
So punctual. Pray you then, in my name, entreat his presence.
That we shall do.
Oh, I must use some strange persuasions to work my friend to deliver my daughter and to forget the vows and horrid oaths I in my madness made her take to the contrary. And may I get those once more in my possession, I will bear her into some close cave or desert where we'll end our lusts and lives together.
Fail not on the forfeit of your lives to execute what I've commanded.
Montraville! How is it, friend?
I am glad to see you wear such cheerful looks. The world's well altered.
Yes, I thank my stars. Well, but methinks thou art troubled.
Some light cross, but of no moment.
Oh, so I hope. Beware of sad and impious thoughts. You know how far they wrought me.
No such come near me, sir. I have like you, no daughter, and much wish you never had been cursed with one.
Who, I? Oh, thou art deceived. I am most happy in her.
I am glad to hear it.
Oh, my incestuous fires towards her are quite burnt out. I love her now as a father, and no further.
Fix there then your constant peace, and do not try a second temptation from her.
Oh yes, friend. Though she were by millions of degrees more excellent in her perfections. Nay, though she could borrow a form angelical to take my frailty, it would not do. And therefore, Montraville, my chief delight next to her, I come to tell me thee, the governor and I are reconciled, and I confirmed, and with all possible speed, to make large satisfaction to young Beaufort and her whom I have so much wronged. And for the trouble in her custody, of which I'll now discharge thee, there is nothing in my nerves or fortunes but shall ever be at thy devotion.
You promise faintly, nor doubt I the performance. Yet I would not hereafter be reported to have been the principal occasion of your falling into relapse, or but suppose out of the easiness of my nature, and assurance you are firm and can hold out, I could consent. You needs must know there are so many lets that make against it. That is my wonder you offer me the motion, having bound me with oaths and imprecations on no terms, reasons, or arguments you could propose. I ever should admit her to your sight, much less restore her to you.
Are we soldiers and stand on oaths?
'Tis beyond my knowledge in what we are more worthy than in keeping our words, much more our vows.
Oh, heaven pardon all. How many thousands in our heat of wine, quarrels and play, and in our younger days in private, I may say, between ourselves and points of love have we to answer for, should we be scrupulous that way?
You say well, and very aptly call to memory, 2 oaths against all ties and rights of friendship broken by you to me.
No more of that.
Yes, 'tis material, and to the purpose. The first, and think upon it, was when I brought you as a visitant to my mistress then, the mother of this same daughter, whom with dreadful words, too hideous to remember, you swore deeply for my sake never to attempt. Yet then, when you had a sweet wife of your own, I know not with what arts, philters, and charms, unless in wealth and fame you were above me, you won her from me, and her grant obtained. A marriage with the second waited on, the burial of the first, that to the world brought your dead son. This I sat tamely down by, wanting indeed occasion and power to be at the height revenged.
Yet this you seemed freely to pardon.
As perhaps I did. Your daughter Theocrin growing ripe, her mother too deceased, and fit for marriage, I was a suitor for her. Had your word upon your honor, and our friendship made authentical and ratified with an oath. She should be mine. But vows with you being like to your religion, a nose of wax to be turned every way, that very day the governor's son but making his approaches of courtship to her. The wit of your ambition for her advancement scattered the thin sand in which you wrote your full consent to me, and drew you to his party. What hath passed since you bear a register in your own bosom that can at large inform you?
Montraville, I do confess all that you charge me with to be strong truth, and that I bring a cause most miserably guilty, and acknowledge that though your goodness made me mine own judge, I should not show the least compassion or mercy to myself. Oh, let not yet my foulness taint your pureness, or my falsehood divert the torrent of your loyal faith. My ills, if not returned by you, will add luster to your much good, and to overcome with noble sufferance will express your strength and triumph o'er my weakness, if you please to. My black deeds being only known to you, and in surrendering up my daughter, buried, you not alone make me your slave, for I had no part do deserve the name of friend, but in your own breast raise a monument of pity to a wretch on whom with justice you may express all cruelty.
You much move me.
Oh, that I could but hope it. To revenge an injury is proper to the wishes of feeble women that want strength to act it, but to have the power to punish and yet pardon, well, peculiar to princes. You see these knees that have ever been stiff to bend to heaven, to you are supple. Is there aught beyond this that may speak my submission? Or can pride, though I well know that it is a stranger to you, desire a feast of more humility to kill her growing appetite?
I required not to be sought to this poor way. Yet 'tis so far a kind of satisfaction that I will dispense a little with those serious oaths you made me take. Your daughter shall come to you, I will say, not as you delivered her, but as she is, you may dispose of her as you shall think most requisite.
His last words are riddles to me. Here, the lion's force would have proved useless, and against my nature compelled me from the crocodile to borrow her counterfeit tears. There's now no turning backward. May I but quench these fires that rage within me and fall what may fall, what can fall. I am armed to bear it.
You must be packing.
Hath she robbed me of mine honor, and now denies me a room to hide my shame?
My lord the admiral attends your ladyship.
Close the port and leave him.
What? Who is this? Oh, how altered, how deformed. What cannot be? And yet this creature has a kind of a resemblance to my daughter. My Theocrin, no, but as different from that she was, as bodies dead are in their best perfections from what they were when they had life and motion.
'Tis most true, sir. I am dead indeed to all but misery. Come not near me, sir. I am infectious. To look on me at distance is as dangerous as from pinnacle's cloud-kissing spire, with giddy eyes to view the steep descent, but to acknowledge me a certain ruin. Oh, sir.
Oh, speak, Theocrine, force me not to further question. My fears already have choked my vital spirits.
Pray, you turn away your face and hear me, and with my last breath give me leave to accuse you. What offense from my first infancy did I commit, that for a punishment you should give up my virgin chastity to the treacherous guard of goatish Montreville?
What hath he done?
Abused me, sir, by violence. In this tone I cannot live to speak more. May the cause in you find pardon. The speeding curse of a ravished maid fall heavy, heavy on him. Beaufort, my lawful love, farewell, forever.
Oh! Oh! Ah! Oh, take not thy flight! Oh, so soon, immaculate spirit! It just fled already. Oh, how the innocent as in gentle slumber pass away. But to cut off the knotty thread of life in guilty men, must force stern Atropos to use her sharp knife often. I would help the edge of hers with the sharp point of mine, but that I dare not die till I have rent this dog's heart piecemeal. Oh, that I had wings to scale these walls, that my hands were cannons to bore their flinty sides, that I might bring the villain in the reach of my good sword. The Turkish Empire offered for her ransom should not redeem her life. Ah! That my voice were as loud as thunder, and with horrid sounds might force a dreadful passage to her ears, and through them reach her soul-libidinous monster! You foul ravisher! As thou dost do a deed which forced the sun to hide his glorious face behind a sable mask of clouds, appear, and as a woman defend it, or like me show some compunction for it. Is this an object to raise mirth?
Yes, yes.
My daughter's dead.
Thou hadst best follow her. Or, if thou art the thing thou art reported, thou shouldst have led the way. Do tear thy hair like a village nurse, and mourn while I laugh at thee. Be but a just examiner of thyself, and in an equal balance poise the nothing, or little mischief I have done compared with the ponderous weight of thine. And how canst thou accuse or argue with me? Mine was a rape, and she being in a kind contracted to me, the fact may challenge some qualification. But thy intent made nature's self run backward, and done had caused an earthquake.
Captain!
Huh.
Our outworks are surprised, the sentinel slain, and the corps du guard defeated too.
By whom?
The sudden storm and darkness of the night forbids the knowledge. Make up speedily, or all is lost.
The devil's name, whence comes this?
Do rage on, rend open Aeolus thy brazen prison, and let loose at once thy stormy issue. Blustering Boreas, aided with all the gales the pilot numbers upon his compass, cannot raise a tempest through the vast region of the air like that I feel within me. For I am possessed with whirlwinds, and each guilty thought to me is a dreadful hurricano. Though this center labor to bring forth earthquake, and hell open her wide-stretched jaws, and let out all her furies, they cannot add an atom to the mountain of fears and terrors that each minute threaten to fall upon my accursed head. Is it fancy? Or hath hell heard me? It makes proof if I dare stand the trial. Yes, I do! Now I view these apparitions. I feel I once did know the substances. For what come you? Are your aerial forms deprived of language and so denied to tell me? That by signs you bid me ask here of myself? It is so. And there is something here makes answer for you. You come to lance my seared up conscience. Yes. And to instruct me that those thunderbolts that hurled me headlong from the height of glory, wealth, honors, worldly happiness were forged upon the anvil of my impious wrongs and cruelty to you. I do confess it. And that my lust, compelling me to make way for a second wife, I poisoned thee. And that the cause which to the world is undiscovered, that forced thee to shake off thy filial duty to me, thy father had its spring and source from thy impatience to know thy mother, that with all duty and obedience served me. But now with horror I acknowledge it. I removed unjustly. Yet, thou being my son, wert not a competent judge marked out by heaven for her revenger, which thy folly by my weaker hand confirmed. Aye, is granted by thee. Can any penance expiate my guilt? Or can repentance save me? Oh, they are vanished. What's left to do then? I'll accuse my fate that did not fashion me for nobler uses. Aye, or if those stars crossed to me in my birth had not denied their prosperous influence to it, with peace of conscience like to innocent men, I might have ceased to be, and not as now to curse my cause of being!
Here is a night to season my silks. Buff Jerkin, now I miss thee. Thou hast endured many foul nights, but never one like this. How fine my feather looks now, just like a captain's tail stolen out of the pen and hid in the sink, and yet had been dishonored to have charged me without it. Wilt thou never cease? Is the petard, as I gave directions, fastened on the portcullis?
It hath been attempted by divers, but in vain.
Those are your gallants, that at a feast take the first place. Or I, hardly allowed to follow. Marry, in these foolish businesses, they are content that I shall have precedence. Much think their manners or their feet. Second me, soldiers, they have had no time to undermine, or if they have, it is blowing up and fetching a caper or two in the air, and I will do it rather than blow my nails here.
Oh, brave captain.
Rax cannot force more from me than I have already told you. I expect no favor. I have cast up my account.
Take you the charge of the fort, Bellegarde. Your dangers have deserved it.
I thank your excellence. This will keep me safe yet from being pulled by the sleeve, and bid remember the thing I wot of.
All that have eyes to weep, spare one tear with me. Theocrine's dead.
Her father, too, lies breathless here, I think struck dead with thunder.
'Tis apparent how his carcass smells.
And his face is altered another color.
But here's one retains her native innocence, and never yet called down heaven's anger.
'Tis in vain to mourn for what's past help. We will refer, bad man, your sentence to the king. May we make use of this great example and learn from it that there cannot be a want of power above to punish murder and unlawful love.